It's been another dramatic day in Parliament today. Congress MPs turned up in black protesting against Rahul Gandhi's disqualifications. Second after both the houses convened, protests broke out and the Lok Sabha was adjourned till the evening. Over in the Rajya Sabha, the situation was similar. There's a lot of confusion about what happens next to Rahul Gandhi and his Wayanad seat. Meanwhile, there are also reports that Rahul Gandhi has been asked to vacate his house, which was allotted to him as a member of parliament. Now, needless to say, this is also becoming a big political fight between the Congress and the BJP. To get more perspective of what this means for the Congress party, I'm speaking to former Union Minister and senior Congress leader Salman Khurshid. Mr. Khurshid, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Beyond the Headline. I want to begin by getting your take on how this entire case played out in this Surat court. And let me contextualize my question. The Congress party is known for its wealth of senior lawyers within the party. Now, some have argued that perhaps this case could have been fought better, or a better preparation could have been made in the eventuality that a guilty verdict is coming back from the Surat court. I'd like your view on that first.
Well, look, it can always, in hindsight, you can always say that a case could have been fought better. But when we go into a case, we do our best preparation and we strategize to use our best minds. And at every level, trial court level, at the appellate court level, at the highest court level, strategically, it's always good to have people who are familiar with that court. I mean, the best of us in the Supreme Court perhaps might not be very useful if we go down to a trial court, if we don't have trial court experience. So, I mean, in hindsight, anything could be said, but I do believe we would have done the best that we could have. There are lots of questions that are being raised about how this matter had proceeded, and I believe we could go on endlessly about those questions. But at the end of the day, there is a judgment that we are dissatisfied with, and we have a right to be dissatisfied with any judgment. And we have a right to go and appeal. And therefore, within the next few hours or days, we will be before the Sessions Court and, if necessary, before the High Court. And if all fails, then we'll be before the Supreme Court. And for that purpose, the best that can be done will be done. You can be absolutely assured.
Mr. Khurshid, now when this case is inevitably appealed, as you have explained, what happens next if the Surat court order is set aside? Does that then automatically bring Rahul Gandhi's status as Member of Parliament back to before that Surat court judgment, or is there a lengthy process that will follow? I want to just understand technically, does it go back to before if this order is set aside?
Well, yeah, I understand. I understand the order to be set aside will have to be done after a full appeal hearing, whether in the Sessions Court or in the High Court. But the order can be granted a stay. A stay can be granted immediately after a short hearing. That normally a stay hearing is a short hearing. And if the stay is granted, today the court itself has given a 1-month suspension of the sentence, which means that the sentence that follows the conviction will not be imposed for another month. But there is no stay on the conviction. Now, if a stay is imposed on the conviction, then the disqualification that follows under Section 8(3) of the Representative of People's Act, etc., will come to an end. That will come automatically to an end. Now, there are many people who talk about, well, it requires a formal order by the Speaker, etc., etc. But I think those are only marginal issues. Once the conviction is stayed, then the disqualification will come to an end, and anything consequential upon disqualification will also come to an end very, very clearly.
Now, I've asked you the legal questions, Mr. Khurshid, because I wanted to get your, legal perspective as someone who's so experienced. Let me now get the political side of this entire story, which has taken center stage. With the Congress mounting protests in various parts of the country, the BJP saying that this shows a lack of discipline and a lack of respect for the Surat court order. How do you respond to this? And also the speed with which the disqualification and now the alleged notice of eviction from Rahul Gandhi's residence as MP has followed.
Well, see, as far as the disqualification is concerned, there is an argument that it is automatically in the absence of Section 8(4), which was held as being invalid by the Supreme Court in Lily Thomas, that case. In the minus Section 8(4), the disqualification is automatic. But there are people who believe that there was a further procedure required, etc., etc. But let's put it that it was automatic. But House doesn't have to be vacated automatically. The government has a lot of discretion, even where in the normal course somebody loses the right to remain in the House. A grace period is given so that you can't overnight move out of a house. So a grace period normally of a month is given, and many cases that grace period is even extended. I mean, I don't want to bring in names, but people are, if the government so pleases, are allowed to live on for 2-3 years beyond the tenure that they serve in Parliament. So this is really not a very sporting thing for the government to do. It shows a little bit of malice. It shows a little bit of short-sightedness, myopia to behave like this. Because after all, you just have to wait a few hours, a few days to actually get clarity that this order will be sustained or not be sustained, or if it is sustained, how long will it take to get it to the Supreme Court? And I'm sure that at some level, we will get relief, because just reading the order, and going by the background in which this order has been given, there are many attributes of the order that I believe are under a severe question mark. But that's for law. That is nothing to do with the politics or of the courtesies that are involved in conducting a government in view of an opposition leader, because it's not a stranger or a nobody that they are dealing with. They're dealing with someone who obviously has some stature, some standing, some following in the country, and some courtesy should have been shown. And I do believe people in their own party, the BJP, in the past would have shown a lot more courtesy than that courtesy has been shown by the present government.
You speak of courtesy today, Mr. Khurshid, but I think most strongest comment coming from the BJP is about the karmic connection to this specific Supreme Court order that you're mentioning. And I'm talking about the ordinance that Rahul Gandhi said should be torn up and thrown into a dustbin in 2013, which was brought about by a UPA-led government then. Do you think in hindsight that was a mistake?
I see. It's not a question of hindsight, etc. That was his clear position. And let me just say this. There's a world of difference in what the Supreme Court had tried to achieve. Now, if you want to exclude people who use muscle power, who use black money, who use underground money, who indulge in heinous crimes like rape and murder, kidnapping, etc. And if the Supreme Court was expecting and attempting to weed them out of Indian politics, it's quite understandable. But when you make laws, there are unintended unintended impacts also. Now, did the Supreme Court really want at that stage to remove people who would have fallen foul, as it were, of the limits of free expression, etc.? It's a big question. It's a very big question, and I think this judgment and this event has unleashed a major debate that our country requires to go through to decide whether freedom of speech should be restricted in such a manner that a public representative feels self-conscious about saying what they honestly believe they should say, or what their electorate genuinely expects them to say. Now, why do we have a complete privilege and the right to say whatever is correct from our point of view when we are in Parliament or in the legislatures, but we don't have the right to say the same thing as individuals outside Parliament? Is because it's important that the truth prevails in Parliament. That's the reason why that privilege and protection is being given. So that's a major debate, I think, major debate that we need to consider before we take positions on this.
So coming back to the actual root of the matter, the comments that Rahul Gandhi made, where he clubbed a Nirav Modi, a Lalit Modi with the Prime Minister of this country and said they're all thieves. Why are all people with the Modi surname thieves? Do you think that crossed a line? Because many have argued that instead of taking this defamation case so far, he could have merely, withdrawn those comments. And do you think it's also opened up a Pandora's box for tit-for-tat complaints?
I understand we all do this, and we all as lawyers advise clients, and in our own case as public figures, as to, is it really worth getting into this fight? Because you can't paralyze yourself by having to answer 100 cases and running from court to court, etc. And if you miss a date, then you have more problems. But sometimes there's an issue of principle. When sometimes somebody values a principle, personal inconveniences don't matter. And I think Mr. Rahul Gandhi has drawn a very clear line on certain principles. But as I say this, let me also make it clear that one of the things, I don't want to go into the details of the judgment and the challenge that we place on that judgment, but one of the themes in the judgment is that this is defamation of a community. Now, 3 names were taken. Those 3 names do or do not belong to that community is not certain at all. Is there such a community is not certain at all. Whether the community has been articulated in the so-called statement in a manner that under the law can be treated as a proposition fit for defamation, and that too criminal defamation. So there are a lot of these questions which have not been answered. People, and particularly those who are happy with the judgment on the BJP side, are just jumping in to rewrite the judgment in a way that pleases them. Now, we are not going to go by a judgment rewritten by the BJP. We will take the judgment for whatever it is. There are judgments given by even high courts that are overturned by the Supreme Court. There are judgments by the Supreme Court that Supreme Court itself several years later overturns itself, etc. So let's just concentrate on the judgment, and we will be very clear about what our concerns are about the judgment and what are the dimensions that we challenge.
If I may come
when
in
the
again,
appeal is out and you see a copy of the appeal.
But if the appeal is out and it goes in your favor, does it reverse the political perception damage already done? This is a development with 2 sets of implications. One is precedence, etc.
What is the damage?
But what is the can you
the damage has been but the damage is done to the government. I mean, if it's a question of political damage and the government thinks that they've damaged Rahul Gandhi, then they can just forget it. They just forget it. We also have obviously some sensitivity to something that creates damage to us or to our leaders. There is no damage. There
Are
is
you saying it's a good
inconvenience.
thing?
There is inconvenience, but there is no damage.
No, so
I believe the damage.
Let me reverse the question, sir. Is it a good thing?
No,
Has this
not
put Rahul Gandhi front and center
Yeah.
of the political discourse?
No. See, please look at the social media. Every second clip on the social media is about Mr. Rahul Gandhi. The Congress party is activated like nothing before. I mean, they were hugely enthusiastic about the Bharat Jodo Yatra. But look at the way they are coming out as far as Mr. Rahul Gandhi's issue is concerned. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi has made it clear. He said, this is not about me. This is about a system. This is about the status of democracy in our country. Tomorrow it will hurt somebody else who might not be as strong as I am and who might not be able to face this kind of onslaught that I can face. So I think that this is a win-win situation, but I'm not saying that we would want to cause greater trouble for our leader just in order to bask in the glory of what comes as a consequence. We obviously feel very concerned about the inconvenience to him, but we are also proud of the manner in which he is handling this. We are really proud in how he is handling it. Somebody has to stand up and say, enough is enough. And I believe that he said so. And he doesn't really care about what consequences there are. But we are certainly concerned about consequences, and we will try to mend as many as possible as far as his personal inconveniences are concerned. But
Mr. Khurshid, is this a matter merely of inconvenience?
Democratic debate is, yeah.
Sir, is this a matter of inconvenience merely? You've mentioned the word inconvenience a couple of times. This is a conviction from an Indian court.
What is
carrying 2 years of sentence? Would you describe this as an inconvenience?
Well, you don't get you don't get inconvenient when somebody sentences you and you believe that you've been sentenced strongly. So are you not inconvenienced? Of course you're inconvenienced. I could use a stronger word, but I don't want our political discourse to become coarse. I could have said there is a sense of huge outrage. He may feel the outrage himself as well, but he's subjugated his own sense of response and reaction to the larger issue, which is the larger issue of fighting for democracy, fighting for truth, fighting fighting against corruption, fighting against cronyism, crony capitalism, etc. He believes that is the important call for all of us as true nationalists in this country, and he's fighting for it. He's prepared to pay whatever price, but it's our job to protect him as much as we can, and we will.
In the context of 2024, Mr. Khurshid, there are some opinion pieces and, some sets of opinions there. Political pundits always have their own spin that say that Rahul Gandhi may be more effective outside Parliament than inside Parliament. And with this sort of I have been targeted kind of an image going forward, do you think that works? And secondly, do you think that the 2024 fight has now clearly become BJP versus Congress instead of the question of what the opposition will look like in terms of an alliance?
Well, let's be very careful about this. People are sensitive. People are sensitive about Congress saying, we will lead everything. Congress has a footprint that, one way or the other, everybody knows is a larger footprint than any other party in the country today. It has. But obviously, we have many challenges in many states. We also know that many leaders in many states are quite powerful, and they have, over the past few years, over the past 10 years, they've acquired very good roots in their own respective states. But today, the matter is, if there are issues like the one for which they've all decided to come and support Mr. Rahul Gandhi, we express our great gratitude to what they have done. We express our appreciation for their foresight and farsightedness, and we say very clearly that it will require similar solidarity for a vast range of issues that we are dealing with when we come to react to the government in power. And this can only be done when all the leaders come together, talk to each other, ensure that there is trust among themselves, and then they decide the way forward. That will be to 2024. This may be a precipitate in 2024 unity, but I'm sure that there's a lot of work to be done, and that work will be done by everybody, and everybody will have to do it together. So we are not taking names of let so-and-so take the initiative, let so-and-so take the initiative. Whoever thinks that they are in a place to take an initiative, we certainly would encourage them to do so.
So you're talking about 2024 unity and opposition unity, but this whole episode has now caused friction between the Uddhav Sena and the Congress. Uddhav Thackeray has reportedly skipped a meeting on this today because he's miffed with the comments Rahul Gandhi made when he said, I am no Savarkar, I am a Gandhi.
Listen, we are not living in a perfect world. We are not living in a perfectly integrated system of parties in the opposition. There will be many issues on which there are differences. There will be many issues on which our perceptions will vary and our perceptions will disagree. Let us find a common language by which we can address these issues. But there are many more commonalities than there are differences. And we should emphasize the commonalities, try and ensure that we put a lid on any differences, ideological or otherwise, that we have. And I'm sure that that's possible to do. It is done in most places where people negotiate to find common ground. There are gives and takes, etc. Sometimes because of lack of understanding of a particular perception of a particular group or a particular party or a particular people of a particular area, a conversation with them, outreach to them can find solutions. We just hope that there will be solutions right across the board in Uttar Pradesh, in UP and in Bihar and in Bengal and in Assam and in Andhra Pradesh and in Telangana and in Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, etc. Now, there are problems in any state. If there's a problem in any state, I'm sure our state leadership and our national leadership will be able to find a solution. Let's just hope and pray that a solution will be found.
And this is the last question, sir, because I know you're short on time, but let me reiterate an important point. Is 2024 as of now shaping up, pitting Mr. Modi and Mr. Rahul Gandhi? Because some in the BJP, and they often say this on our program as well, say that they want a contest where Rahul Gandhi is on the other side. It works in their favor.
Look, I would be anticipating something that we might hope for. I would be anticipate something that still may be in the process of being worked out. And nothing that I say here today should become an impediment or an issue in people and the top leaders of all parties coming together, talking and finding a solution. How they will strategize, in which manner they will take on Mr. Modi and the BJP, let it come from them. I mean, we really are part of the support base of the Congress, and we would want the Congress leadership, our top leadership, to talk to all the other leaders and hope that they can find common ground. It's the common ground which will help secure India's future. And I do believe India's future is at stake. India's future is at stake because our institutions are in trouble. Our institutions are under attack in one form or the other. And our fundamental values are under attack. So in order to save our fundamental values and our institutions, we need to come together.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for speaking with us. Senior Congress leader, former Union Minister Salman Khurshid, speaking about what next for the party after Rahul Gandhi's disqualification as Member of Parliament. Thank you.